Birdland Tonight is your place for Orioles post-game coverage for fans by fans. All of the hosts on Birdland Tonight are Oriole fans that are either writing blogs or doing podcasts about Orioles. Head on over to birdlandtonight.com to learn more about the hosts and other shows and websites that they're a part of. And head on over to Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch and subscribe, follow, or like, whatever the appropriate thing is, to Birdland Sports. Finally, share, retweet, and tell your friends about Birdland Tonight so that we're all joined into the conversation after every Orioles game this year. We'll see you guys in just a couple minutes. Head on over to the comment sections on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube to start interacting now. We'll see you soon. Did you know Birdland Tonight is also a podcast? Head on over to your favorite podcast app and subscribe to Birdland Tonight to get the audio of this show every morning ready for your commute. Thanks for joining us. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Make sure that you have subscribed to us on your favorite social media. Look up Birdland Sports on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Like, follow, retweet, share. See you in a moment.
Seven, six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to a special pregame episode of Birdland Tonight, where it's Birdland in the middle of the day. If you're on the West Coast, probably Birdland with your coffee. Today, we've got the Orioles facing off against the New York Mets in an afternoon matchup. And it's exciting because Matt Harvey is taking the mound for the Orioles, which, you know, folks in New York are probably a bit surprised to see because he was a long time-ish Met. And so it's going to be exciting. We're gonna see Matt Harvey, who's had a pretty good year for the Orioles so far, take the mound against his former team. And I'm sure a lot of folks other than the press are excited to see Matt Harvey. So we'll see how well he does in this afternoon matchup. Unfortunately, the Orioles lost a tough one last night against the Mets. Cesar Valdez and the Dead Fish just did not have the right stuff. Brandon Hyde kind of talked about in his post-game Zoom call that it was just a bit of bad luck. Really tough ball for Rio Ruiz to field over there at third base. That's kind of been, kind of the hot and coldness of Rio Ruiz. But it's a big deal that Matt Harvey is, back on the mound. And so for a lot of the Orioles fans, myself included, I don't know who Matt Harvey is. You hear a lot, right? The Dark Knight, New York Mets, some other stuff, that came up. But I thought, hey, why not do a quick deep dive as kind of a pregame show on who is Matt Harvey? Who is the Dark Knight? Where did that come from? So Matt Harvey, I think I did the math earlier, about 32 years old. So still, definitely a veteran. Been in the league since, was drafted in 2010, but actually started out in high school in Connecticut. Probably grew up a Yankees fan, I imagine. I know he was a hockey fan of the New York Rangers. And I actually looked up where it was that he went to high school, Gaton or something with a G over there in Connecticut, essentially just on the other side of Long Island. So real close to New York. So in high school, he actually played for his dad, who was a decent ball player himself, played center field in the College World Series for the University of Connecticut. So his dad was the high school coach. He pitched there. He actually got drafted, or not drafted, sorry. He went to college at UNC Chapel Hill, where he was pretty good. Still remains 9th all-time in school history for strikeouts and 10th all-time in wins for the University of North Carolina. But it was most likely his time in the Cape Cod League that really impressed scouts, so much so that in 2010, he was drafted by the Mets as the number 7 overall draft. They look at this guy, 6'4", 210 pounds, righty, throws extremely hard, and just, the strikeouts is what really stood out and has stood out for most of his career up until recently. That's the same draft where the Nationals came in with a number 1 pick and took Bryce Harper to go number 1 overall, and Manny Machado coming out of high school was the number 3 overall pick by the Baltimore Orioles back in 2010. So then Matt Harvey goes into the minors, and again, because he's played some college ball at a decent level, and again, most likely the Cape Cod League experience that he had, they start him right off in Single A. He really splits time that year in 2011 between Single A and Double A during that same year. Obviously being drafted at number 7, he was always a top prospect. He was always on everybody's list. I think he was number 2 prospect for the New York Mets organization, in the top 50 overall for all of Major League Baseball. But like I said, starting off in Single A and splitting time in Double A his first year, pretty impressive. Just shows you that he was close to ready. In 2012, he started out the year in Triple A. And to be quite honest, he spent way too much time, at least the way that I read it, in Triple A. And it's interesting to think back, in 2012, how long has this service manipulation, idea been going on by general management for Major League Baseball? My guess is that it was probably going on back then as well. The Mets publicly stated that back in 2012 that he needed to work on his consistency and control. Of course, when the Mets ace, Johan Santana, went down with an injury, all of a sudden Harvey's control and consistency issues seemed to have worked themselves out. So he was ready. And so in July 26 of 2012, Matt Harvey gets his Major League debut out in Arizona against the Arizona Diamondbacks, where he pitched 5 1/3 innings, gave up 3 hits, also had 3 walks, but struck out 11. Absolutely incredible, from a strikeout perspective. And that was kind of a theme that we saw for the next couple of years. Fun fact, in his first Major League Baseball game, not only did he have 11 strikeouts, but he got his first Major League Baseball hit off none other than former Oriole no-hitter Wade Miley. That's right, he had a 2-out double as his first hit in the major leagues. On top of pitching, and striking out 11, he actually ended the day with 2 hits. It'll be interesting to see when Harvey gets up to bat. Hopefully he gets up to bat, that he goes about 5 or 6 innings today, but we'll get to that. So that was kind of the start of Matt Harvey. But really, it was 2013 when his career begins to take off. And often the New York press would compare him with, Justin Verlander. Who else was on that list? Andy Pettit, Kurt Schilling. So, the New York press was putting him up on a pedestal. And for the most part, he lived up to those expectations. It was interesting because before being known as the Dark Knight, Dwight Gooden nicknamed Harvey the real deal. And he was. In 2013, he actually made the All-Star team. And unfortunately, after 2013 is when things get a little bit sideways. 2014, he has his first Tommy John surgery and kind of derails the real deal. Given how hard he threw and what we know these days of kind of the toll that takes on the body, it can't be a big surprise. But yeah, Tommy John surgery in 2014, and then it's the comeback. 2015, the comeback year. First game back was for Matt Harvey, was against the Nationals, where he pitched 6 scoreless innings, striking out 9. After that game, Bryce Harper said, this guy is going to win a Cy Young. This guy is good. It's interesting because 2015 is when things get a little bit weird. It's later in that year where his agent, Scott Boras, which is known throughout all of sports, especially Major League Baseball, starts to get involved and starts to talk with the New York Mets management about Matt Harvey's pitch count. Of course, Matt Harvey, wants to be competitive. He wants to be a player. But his agent steps in, is worried about how the Mets are utilizing him. How many innings do the Mets plan to use him in? Does that include the post game? Because that year, 2015, the Mets actually go, into the postseason and all the way up into the World Series. Eventually, they work it out, but it was interesting because the doctor, the surgeon, the renowned sports surgeon, Dr. Andrews, got involved as well. On how he should be utilized, how often he should be utilized. The Mets ended up using a 6-man rotation, which I found interesting, to help give him a little bit more time between outings. But it was interesting because the Mets that year did go to the postseason. Harvey pitched. He got a win in Game 3 of the National League Division Series against the Dodgers. Pitched 7 2/3 innings of Game 1 against the Cubs in the National League Championship Series, and then started Game 1 of the World Series against the Royals. They ended up losing to the Royals, I think, 4-1. But yeah, hell of a year in 2015. But in 2016, as Harvey starts off, something seemed to be off. Maybe it was the mechanics. A lot of folks, kind of questioned. Maybe it just wasn't. Something was off. He wasn't his same self. And after some shoulder pain, it was decided that Harvey would take some time off to have surgery to repair, let me get this right, thoracic outlet syndrome, which sounds painful and awful. But that was something that he faced, just 2 years removed from Tommy John surgery. So in 2017, we're kind of poised for, again, another comeback. But, something else had kind of gone on. We also see some stuff where Matt Harvey gets a little bit of bad press. He's known to date a bunch of supermodels, and also seems to have a reputation for not handling the breakups with those supermodels all that well. He actually gets suspended by the team for 3 games that year, which happened to coincide from him breaking up with one of the supermodels, who was then seen with like Julian Edelman from the New England Patriots. It's just, the tabloid fodder. It was, a lot of that was going on. And then later in 2017, he gets placed on the IL with a scapula fracture. But again, so this is, 2013 to 2015. That was really the glory years. Actually, not through 2013, skipping 2014, where he had Tommy John surgery, and 2015 was really kind of the peak and the glory days of Matt Harvey. That's when he was, earned the nickname the Dark Knight. Obviously, New York City, always kind of known as Gotham, and the DC universe. And they had that incredible walk-up music for Matt Harvey as he would come out of the bullpen. The fans would go absolutely bananas, and it was just kind of a lot of fun to see. I Googled a couple YouTube videos just to kind of see that and kind of get an idea of where that all came from. So 2017, after he goes on the IL with a scapula fracture, that's where it tends to kind of start to get off the rails a little bit. It wasn't a season-ending surgery. He did come back and pitch later that year, but not to a lot of success. 2018, still with the New York Mets, but they decide to move him into the bullpen from the rotation, which is never a good sign. Soon after that, he was DFA'd, and after refusing to be sent down, which I need somebody to explain to me because I don't actually understand all of the rules where you can refuse to be DFA'd, but that's what happened. And then, after he refuses to go down to the minors, he ended up being traded to the Cincinnati Reds, who traded away Devin Mesoraco, a catcher, and really kind of on his last legs. Although, I did see here in my notes that in 2014, Mesoraco was an all-star, but when he was traded to the New York Mets, that actually ended up being his last year in the majors. So that kind of starts off this nomadic period for Matt Harvey. He does end up signing with the Anaheim Angels, or the California Angels, however they were known back in 2019. They thought that he still had something in the tank, signing him for a 1-year, $11 million contract with an additional $3 million in incentives. Although it was not a great year statistically for Matt Harvey, as he really kind of spent the year up and down. Oakland A's signed him to a minor league deal. That never really worked out as he was never really called up. And then 2020, he signed with Kansas City, ended up playing 7 games in that truncated season. And then, as everybody knows, that really kind of got Matt Harvey to where he is with the Orioles. February 13th, signs a minor league contract after spending some time at a New Jersey pitching camp, really working on his mechanics and analytics and feeling like he had found a home with the Orioles. And so far has really kind of had some outstanding outings for the Orioles. So let's just get real quick. We've got another couple minutes before the first pitch here. If you're like me, you're going to grab a cup of coffee and maybe have that on in the office while you do a little bit of work. The Orioles starting lineup includes Mullins, Hayes, and Mancini. We've almost seen this written in stone for the past few weeks. Mullins center field, Hayes again out in right field, and Mancini at first base. Interested to see what you guys think about that 1-2-3 lineup. We'll see Mountcastle again out in left field, Freddie Galvis playing shortstop. Again, we'll see Michael Franco playing third base. Rio Ruiz this time moves over to second base. Chance Sisco behind the plate. I'm really hoping that Chance starts to turn things a little bit around behind the plate, or at least at the plate, where he's been struggling offensively. And then interested to see what Matt Harvey does. I really kind of, as I look through it, there's really 3 keys for the Orioles. Obviously, what's been missing for the past couple of games is they've got to hit the ball. And what Josh, who's been on the show and hosting the show for most of Birdland tonight, will tell you that we really need to get more hits than strikeouts, which really means, hey, just make contact and let's see what happens. Because if you're making contact, things can happen. I think what we're going to have to do is play some more small ball like we did last night. We're not hitting the ball all that well, so when we do hit it, we need to hit it smartly. So we're going to see what that does. And then Harvey really needs to give us 6. Our bullpen has plenty left in the tank, but it would be great if we could get 6 innings out of Matt Harvey. He's going up against Taijuan Walker, who's got an incredible ERA of 2.38. And it's interesting, but obviously the Mets are going to be favored in this game. I did look it up. The over/under for this game is 7.5, which I think is extremely high considering how poorly the Orioles have been scoring. So it'll be interesting to see if we get close to that. And if you're a betting man, the odds of Orioles getting a win are plus 165, meaning if you bet $100, you could win 165 plus your 100 back. So if you're probably too late now, but if you were at the casino and you made that bet, be interesting to see how it turned out for you. Looks like we've got two folks on the bridge here, Birdland Sports, and on the YouTube page, and no comments. But hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back after the game as I eat my lunch and give you some thoughts on how the Orioles played today. That's all I got, Birdland. Let's go O's.